How big of an impact did podcasting have on the 2024 US presidential election, and what does it mean for the future of podcasting? Let's jump into the data. A little disclaimer, this video will not talk about political stances or views, but rather strictly look at how podcasts were leveraged by the different campaigns in the 2024 US presidential race and the outcome of the race itself. Based on data from both the Financial Times and the Wall Street Journal, the right had more different demographics shift their support their way than the left did since 2020. As you'll see in this chart, the right had a variety of segments including Asian and Hispanic demographics, as well as age ranges including 33 to 44, and most notably 18 to 29, shift their support to the right since 2020. While in that same time frame, the left had white college women and those ages 65 and up shift their support further left. And as you can see in this chart, both young men and women in that 18 to 29 age range shifted their support significantly to the right, with women 18 to 29 still leaning left overall, but swaying closer to that neutral line, and with men 18 to 29 moving across the line to the right side. So why is this? Well, the data shows that podcasts potentially played a major role in the shift of these younger demographics. The long-form, unedited conversations that podcasts offer build more trust and affinity between the listeners and the guests on the show. Part of this comes from the structure and format of the content. Many of the popular podcasts that I'll mention here in a second have a laid-back environment with little to no editing and little limitations on content topics and little censorship. With a trending distrust for traditional news outlets among younger demographics, a lot of these popular podcasts have become somewhat of a news source for younger individuals as they build trust with the hosts. In addition to this, many of these podcasts are hosted by figures that younger individuals know, trust, and hear talk about a variety of topics that they're actually interested in outside of politics. If we think about how presidential campaign ads were run in the past on TV, you're watching a program that you want to be watching, whatever that is, Modern Family, The Simpsons, whatever it is, and then when it cuts to a commercial, you then see an ad run for a presidential campaign. Now, with how podcasts are consumed, it's like placing a presidential candidate inside your favorite TV show, whether it's the Call Her Daddy podcast or the Joe Rogan Experience. Instead of interrupting the content that you want to watch, causing you to go get a snack from the kitchen or do chores around the house, viewers and listeners are engaged in the conversations that these presidential candidates are having on their favorite podcasts. So that's great. Podcasts likely played a role for both candidates in building trust with younger individuals. But why did this potentially contribute to a large shift to the right in these demographics? The answer is volume. While both Trump and Harris's teams had a podcast strategy in their campaign plans, the amount of attention and eyeballs Trump's campaign got from their podcast strategy is staggering. Harris appeared on a variety of some of the largest podcasts in the world, including Call Her Daddy, getting 803,000 views on YouTube, All the Smoke, getting 688,000 views on YouTube, Breakfast Club, getting 574,000 views on YouTube, and Club Shay Shay getting 1.7 million views on YouTube. This totals just over 3.7 million views, and that's just on YouTube. This does not include other popular podcast platforms such as Spotify, X, Apple Podcasts, or any other platforms. While this is impressive and a lot of views on Harris having these long-form conversations that build trust and affinity, Trump took this to another level. Trump appeared on significantly more podcasts, with these 12 being the largest. The Joe Rogan Experience getting 46.5 million views on YouTube, this past weekend getting 14 million views on YouTube, Lex Fridman's podcast with 6.2 million views on YouTube, Flagrant with 7.8 million views on YouTube, Full Send with 3.3 million views on YouTube, Aiden Ross's Kickstream getting 2.6 million views on YouTube and 500,000 concurrent views on Kick, Bussin' with the Boys with 436,000 views on YouTube, PBD with 3.1 million views on YouTube, Impulsive with 6.7 million views on YouTube, All In with 3.4 million views on YouTube, The Sean Ryan Show with 3.6 million views on YouTube. This totals just over 100 million views. And again, this is only YouTube, not including any views from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, X, or any other platforms. And of course, for both candidates, this doesn't include the endless amount of clips from these podcast episodes that have been posted and distributed all throughout social media. To put these numbers into comparison, the Trump versus Harris debate that took place on September 10th, 2024, got just over 50 million views. So when we look at these two data points, data point number one being the shift in younger demographics to the right, and data point number two being the Trump campaign's leverage of podcasts with the long-form trust and affinity building content types, it makes us wonder if there's a correlation between the two and if it potentially contributed to the outcome of the election. So looking at this from a marketing perspective, this can be used as a case study to show that long-form, unedited podcast-like content can be used to build trust and affinity with an audience. Both campaigns thought that this content type was important. However, one side committed more resources or executed better on their strategy, and it potentially contributed to the results of the election. Just another disclaimer, I know there are many factors that played into the outcome of the election, and a lot of people have strong feelings about it. Again, I'm just trying to look at this as an objective marketing perspective and really just dive into the impacts and what it means for marketing, media, and influence in today's world. So as a creator or business or brand, you may look at this and say, okay, awesome, this is great. I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to have all these guests. I'm going to do all this stuff, and it's going to be great. And before you start moving any furniture around for your studio, I think it's important to remember that with the case study we're looking at right now, neither of the presidential candidates started their own podcast. All these views we talked about earlier came from these two candidates appearing on already popular podcasts. So I think this is something that brands should consider. Are there already popular podcasts in your niche or industry that you could reach out to and try to appear as a guest on? If yes, this can be a great way to build brand trust and awareness. However, if you do have the time and resources to start your own podcast or podcast type content, whatever that may be, I do think it can be a great tool and aspect to your brand building strategy. In the case of this presidential race, the two candidates were on a clock. They need to get as many eyeballs as they can, as quickly as they can, which makes sense why they would appear as guests on some of the most popular podcasts in the world, as opposed to building and growing their own podcasts, which would take some time. So what are your thoughts on podcasts' impact on the election? I'd be very curious to hear in the comments what your thoughts are. I know there's a lot of other factors, and political stuff can be kind of a hot topic for people to discuss. I'd ask to keep politics out of it and just look at this from a marketing business perspective. And again, I just wanted to use this as a case study because it's the biggest platform in the world, and it's really interesting to see, how modern media is changing, not only for business and marketing, but also for political races. Thanks for watching.